Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we're going to be revisiting the Sony Walkman WM-FX43. This was the one that I released on the video last night. If you watched it, you might not have had a chance yet. There was a problem with the auto reverse, and what it would do is when you hit the auto reverse button, which is the little switch here, it should start playing the other side, but it didn't. It would play side B normally, hit the auto reverse, and it would just play side B backwards. Likewise, if you put in side A, it would play it normally, hit the auto reverse, it would just play side A again backwards, so it could sound quite demonic. So I didn't know what was wrong with it, I couldn't work it out, but a few of you guys have sent me some really helpful comments and I've been reading them, and I've been working on this today and I've got something interesting to show you. So I'm going to show you, I have got it working, no I haven't. I know how to do something to make it play in the right direction, but I'm still not really sure why it does it. So that's what this video is going to be doing. I've got one component to swap over and I want to see if that helps or not, but I really don't know. But I want to show you the schematics and stuff. I've had quite a bit of fun today trying to get my head around it all. Remember, it's all new to me, so it's massively confusing. But let me read out a few of the comments. So basically this was one here from apologies for the I don't do phonetics, so I'm going to say Jenny Wab, but I don't know if that's right or not. Right, it says, hey, it got my curiosity why it played backwards and checked the schematics. The responsible of the reverse function is a switch S301 which attacks a double transistor Q310. It reads forward reverse head mode and it sends the reverse signal to the preamp, which is the IC301 pin 17, to switch between the two coils on the head. Check that section, maybe a bad solder or a broken trace, follow it from pin 17 to the transistor. And then very helpfully I've been given the link there to the schematics, which I have downloaded, and that's what I've been looking through. Now there's been various other comments as well. Let's just quickly go down through a few of them. This one here, just a point, when you press, this is by Lee Adama, it says here, he recommends to hold a station button when pressing play so that the readout says play, and try the reverse switch to see what happens. So basically, with this one here, every time I press play on it, it just comes up with like the fast forward symbol. But people are saying it's not necessarily the fast forward symbol, it's just showing the direction that it's playing. So then if the auto reverse works, it then should have the arrows going in the other way. But interestingly, when I hold down button 1 and then press play, or button 6, it comes up with the correct play. So what I did is I did exactly as the comment suggested. I held it down and then pressed play, then auto reverse while it was held down, and it still didn't work. So it's not, unfortunately, that, which would have been nice. What else is it here? Just loads of different things telling me about you know, those arrows and stuff. Loads of people said that I wasn't pressing stop. No, not all the time, in fact hardly ever, but I also did press stop a few times before I did the auto reverse. It still didn't work. So in the video I just had play down while I was doing auto reverse, but when I pressed stop it still didn't work, so it didn't matter whether I pressed stop or not. Now, this one by Kenneth goes into a little bit more detail, and it says here, you have an IC named LA54581M, and basically that is this fella here. I'll show you in more detail later on. And it says here it's for switching heads, which is the problem I've got, because it's not, basically it keeps reading off the same head. It says check if the signal for the head switch get to it. On pin 17 should be connected to the ground for using one set of heads and not connected to ground for the other. You can test that by checking voltage to ground from that pin. Now, I did that and all I have is 4.4 volts. Sorry, 0.4 volts on that pin 17, and it doesn't matter which way I have the auto reverse. So, yeah, just a little bit more detail there. If it's a bad IC, else the problem is with the components connected to pin 17, bad cap resistor or logic switch. And then somebody else helpfully tells me that I have to count, I think it was anti-clockwise, chip as a dot, count from this corner, anti-clockwise from the chip to find pin 17. So basically pin 17 is, if you're interested, is this one here. So if you have a look closely here, this will be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. This one here. Now I looked at it closely and I thought, well, that doesn't go anywhere. But after looking at something else on this download that I did, it does. It actually goes to I think it's, I can't remember which one. One of these are, no, sorry. It goes to a hole, a via underneath this, which comes up on the other side here. So basically I played a bit of detective work. It comes up on, I think it was, get my bearings. I think it was this one here, not 100% sure. And then from there I traced the wires. So it's too dark here now, but basically it comes up on one of the wires here, and then I traced it and it goes down into this direction down here, which comes up to this area here. So I started searching all the way around here, and as well a lot of people mentioned the switch for the auto reverse. Now when you press play, I should be showing you this on the blue mat, it'd be a lot easier, but just quickly show you now. When I press play, I did show this in the video, but a few people must have missed it. Okay, it's not holding down now for whatever reason. But when I press play and do this switch here, there is actually a switch that goes off, and it's the contacts here. Now in the video, this is the switch just here. I did actually show that there is continuity through that switch. So if you have a look in here, you can see the switch here. So basically when I do that auto reverse, it shoves the whole mechanism over, touches these two contacts together, and then I have a short across here. So 100% the switch is working. Other people said that the switch on the outside is going to be faulty, but it's not, because it is moving the mechanism all the way across. So anyway, that's the comments there. A few other people said, Chris from Gadget UK said that it could be an alignment issue on here on the actual head, but unfortunately it's not. When I move the tape up and down a little bit, I've only got a little bit to play with because it comes off these things that spin it, but it still reads backwards and still reads forwards. You know, still reads correctly, but if I hit auto reverse, still reads backwards. Now if you let me go to the schematics. So this is the one for the pin 17, and I was reading all about it, and basically pin 17 says, there we go, it's quite good actually. It says here, when connected to ground, pin 2 and pin 23 turn on, and when floating, which I presume means not connected to ground, pin 3 and pin 22 turn on. So to begin with, I concentrated all my efforts on that chip, but it's not the chip, and I'm going to show you why I think it's not the chip in a minute. And then basically this is the schematics here, so we can have a look at that in just a minute. But remember when I said about that via that I didn't know where it was going? Well, check this out. If you look here, no, not that one, that's the board with the little display on it. This is the board you can see here where the tape slots into, and if I zoom right in here, it doesn't always let me do it. Let me refresh this. Right, let me zoom right in. Right, okay, so pin 17 is here, and basically it goes off to a hidden via underneath this chip, and then I had to trace that from the other side, and that's where I traced it, and it went all the way down to this area here. Now these are the chips that we're interested in particular this one here, and let me show you why in a minute. Now before that, I'm just going to show you the schematics, because hopefully a lot of you will understand it. I don't understand it, and I find it very, very hard because obviously I don't understand it. But let me zoom in. So if we trace, for example, pin 17 is here. Let me zoom in a bit more. Right, so we've got pin 17 here, and it goes up round here, and it goes down, 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 down to this thing here. Now this is basically the double transistor that I was told about, and that's what I've been kind of focusing on when I've realised that the IC to me looks to be okay. Now if you have a look over here, this is the forward reverse switch, but this is the kind of bit that confuses me. So with this here, it looks like it's always going to be connected to ground until you hit the auto reverse, and then it's no longer going to be connected to ground. The thing that really confuses me is, I mean, I'll show you this hopefully in more detail because I've got it kind of scribbled down on a bit of paper here. But basically, as far as I know, this item here is called it's an NPN, and I think it's 2 transistors in the one package, so I think it's done for space saving. But this is the bit that's confusing. So basically, when I've read up about NPN, it says it turns on when the current flows through the base. So I'm thinking that this one here is the base and this one here is the base, and it says that basically the current flows from the collector to the emitter. Now I know on this chip that this package here that there's only one emitter because I've looked up the specification of it. So I'm thinking this must be the emitter down here. So what happens is that this is the bit that I don't get. This has to go to the chip, which is up here. But it looks to me as if the current's flowing this way through here. So when the electricity current comes along here, it basically opens up this connection and goes down to the emitter. And likewise on this side here. But I thought that from here it should be like swapped the other way, because this then needs to go up to the chip. Because the chip up here is the thing that when number 17 gets livened up with ground or not ground, then what happens is it livens up pins 2 and 23 or 3 and 22. And if you have a look, 2 and 23 go off to the forward. So this is the tape head here. This is the forward direction on 2 and 23. And 3 and 22 are for the reverse. So this is a little bit confusing for me, but that's because I can't read schematics. This here looks kind of the wrong way round, because I would have said that when the current turns this on, that the current should go through here, then up to pin 17. It seems a bit wrong, but then again, I could be reading that completely incorrectly. But I just wanted to show you the schematics there, so you might have a better idea of what it looks like. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can get more of it in. Right, now let me just hold on. Let me just move it around so you can pause it. Thing is, it's not close enough then for you guys to see, is it? But you can download this online if you did want to have a look at it. But I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what I found on the actual Walkman, and then it might make more sense. And the other thing I want to show is that, again, this double transistor thing is called an XN1215. Now I've looked elsewhere on the board, and there's another one here. If you have a look here, XN1215, and this is the tape radio detection. So would this be for the switch at the front? Because there's a little switch here that does the tape and the radio. So what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking about swapping this over, and the reason why I'm going to show you now on the blue mat. Right, okay, so here it is out on a table, and what I've done is, rather than mucking around with batteries, I've actually used my bench power supply. This is a power supply that comes with my little soldering iron kit, and I'm shoving down 2.9 volts into it. So basically it takes two AA batteries, AA batteries, 1.5 volts each, add them both together because they're in series, which is 3 volts. So I'm putting in 3 volts, or 2.9 in this instance. So now it saves me mucking about with the batteries, because a lot of people keep asking why don't I do that. So I thought, do you know what, maybe I should do that. Right, so let me just show you the fault, just in case you haven't watched a previous episode. So I'm putting in now side A here, and let's play it. Hold on a second. Right, okay, so I'm going to hit the auto reverse. Now listen. So that's normal, yeah? Hit the auto reverse. And you can see it's playing backwards. Hit it again. So it's the same side but backwards. And now exactly the same will happen on side B. So if I press play.
Level-headed. In fact, I think George is down to where that is.
So normal. Backwards. And remember, people said about what happens if you stop. Well, there we go. Let's do it normal.
Down to where that attitude has rubbed.
Stop. Hit the auto reverse. And it's still backwards. Okay, so what I did is I remembered about this chip and pin 17 and grounds in it. So I thought to myself, well, why don't I just ground the chip, ground pin 17, and see what happens. The problem is, it's kind of awkward for me to get to once the tape's in there. So I followed the route of pin 17 via the schematics online. Well, not the schematics, but the actual picture of the circuit board. And then I followed it through the vias, and it ended up at this via here. Now, I don't know whether it's a via or a via, but you know what I mean. It's these white things here on the board that connect up. They're like a tunnel that go through the board to connect up one side of the board with the other side, so both sides can be used. Now, this little one here, by this connector, the one I'm pointing to now, is connected to pin 17. So there's continuity between there and here. So leads go onto pin 17, which is this one, and if I go onto this one here, you can hear it shorting out. Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tape in, make it play incorrectly, and I'm going to go between this via here and ground, which is this one here, okay? And you will see it will start playing normally. Just make sure it's all in properly. Right, you listen, that's wrong, yeah? So I'm going to put my ground on here, and I'm going to touch the little wire. And now it's playing the other side of the tape, yeah? Backwards. Normal, okay? So that says to me that the IC chip is okay. Let's just do this side. Going the wrong way. That's just because the, hold on 1 second. Let's try to rest it in here instead. Right, so in here and here.
Your husband's quite worried about you.
And it doesn't matter what part of the board I go on. I can go onto any earth or any ground. Yeah, it's just playing slow purely because of the belt. There's friction when I'm resting this on here. So that says to me that the IC is okay, but why, when I hit this switch here, is it not sending the ground to the IC to make it auto reverse? So that's going to make people think that the switch is at fault. So let's now disconnect the power supply from this completely, and I'm going to show you the switch. So I tried to show you earlier, but it was quite hard to see. But if you have a look in here, let me get a little pointer. This is the switch here, and all that happens is there's two little contacts, and when you press play and move this along here, it's sorry, this one, it's basically moving this white thing here where my thumb is. Watch this white thing. See, it's moving it along there, and all it's doing is knocking that switch. You can see the two contacts of the switch being touched together. Now, these contacts are clean and they're working perfectly. They're not intermittent, they're working absolutely perfectly. So on the other side of that, we have two contacts. Now, I did do this in the original video, but I think it was missed, so I'm just going to show you again. So, there you go. You can see now that I've got continuity between those 2 points there. If I take it off the auto reverse, then the sorry, that's not the one. Off the auto reverse, the continuity goes. Yeah, and now watch this, I'll do it while the meter's on. Sorry, I was on the wrong one. Hold on. Right, off and on. That's just me wobbling. There you go. Okay, so what I've been doing is I've been tracing the wires from here going down to this area here, and this is where that double transistor is, this XN1215. So I'm going to zoom right in now. Right, okay, so to begin with, I just want to show you where they end up. So obviously these also go up in this direction, but I've been concentrating on the sort of ones going downwards over to this area. Now, if I go on right now, we've got continuity. So let's turn that off. So the switch is now off, okay? So this would just be like a normal bog standard Walkman. Now, if we go onto this one here, this goes right the way around and actually comes up from memory. Does it come up now? Here. Right, so it comes up on this point here, which then in turn goes to this one here and also this one here. So this is the thing that I'm interested in down here. Now, I think, well, I don't think, I know that basically this one here is the collector, the TR1. This is collector TR2. This one here is the, it's really hard to see with the lights bouncing off it. This one here is the base TR1, and this is base TR2, and this middle one here, which is connected to basically ground, is the emitter. So when the voltage comes onto this one here, it then should send the current through to this emitter here. So basically it's putting it to ground then, isn't it? Now if you look at this point here, this one, which is also this little one here, it actually comes up just here, this side there. Now, it doesn't come through this resistor, but this resistor is labelled up as 10, I can't remember when I zoomed in, I think it was 103. So basically they're the same, this is the same as this one here. So what I did is I put my meter just to normal ohms, let me zoom out on this bit, and they're both reading pretty much the same. So if I just go to, that's a normal ohms reading, and if I go across, now I know this is in circuit, but if I go across this one here, it's coming up as, there you go, 10 kilo ohms. And if I go on this one here, it's coming up as 9.3 kilo ohms. So in my opinion, very similar. I don't know whether that would be enough to be out, but I don't think there's going to be an issue there. And also when I go across the capacitors, so let me zoom in again. So when I go to ground here, the capacitors are not shorting out, they're only shorting on one side. So you can see this bottom rail here are all going to be in contact with each other. Yeah, but then the other side are not. If you have a look here, this side here is going to short, but this one isn't. And this one here, and this one isn't. So the capacitors around this area look to be okay. I'm wondering whether this thing here has failed, because if I just go across the pins here, then it starts working. Even if I just bring this capacitor down to ground, it starts working. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to lower it down a bit because it's kind of hard to speak over it. Right, so that's the right way, yes? And now I'm going to go the wrong way. Now, even if I just go across this tiny little capacitor, you can just see it just barely sticking out here. If I short this to ground, there you go. You can see it sounds okay, but it sounds nicer when I actually short out the, there you go, the actual XN1215, this double transistor thing. Yep. Just going to go the other side because it sounds a bit louder, I think. Right, so I'm just going between the collector and the emitter, or the collector and the base. Let's go to the emitter. There you go. So it sounds perfect. So I'm going to disconnect the power supply again. And the bit that I find confusing is, I'm thinking maybe it's this little double transistor which is faulty, but yet if I put my meter to ohms again, annoyingly I'm going to have to keep zooming out so you can see it, but if I put that to ohms, and if I go between, so current's going to flow from the base to the, no, from the collector to the emitter when the base gets voltage. So let's go between here and here. So this is going to be TR1 collector to TR1 base, and if you have a look, I am getting a reading there. Yeah, 10.8 mega ohms or whatever it is. And now let's go on the other side of it. And it's reading 9.2 kilo ohms. Sorry, it's the collector to the emitter. Beg your pardon. See, I don't know what I'm doing. Right, let's go between the collector TR1 and the emitter. So there we go, 10.5 mega ohms. And on the other side, the TR2 to the emitter. 16.6 kilo ohms. Now remember, this is in circuit, but they're massively different, aren't they? Let's go on to the other one that I'm considering swapping it with. So there's another one here. Let's go on to this one and see what this one reads. So this is going to be TR1 to the emitter. So that's 5.8 mega ohms, and TR2 to the emitter There you go, 5.4 mega ohms, so all pretty much the same. I'm wondering whether this one's gone faulty. So what I'm going to try to do, which is probably madness, I can't seem to find these online. I looked at Farnell, they didn't have them. They're not going to be expensive, it's just a case of whether I can get them or not, whether they're obsolete, I do not know. But what I'm going to try and do is, I think I'm going to try and swap this one out with this one here. So I'm going to pop the board out, swap them over, and see if it fixes the auto reverse. If it is, I know 100% then that this is at fault. If it doesn't, then it's going to be something else. For all I know, it could just be one of these very small resistors or capacitors, which is not allowing it to go to ground. But as far as I can see, they look to be okay. Obviously, I haven't taken them out to test. The only worry is this one here, from what I read earlier, is the tape radio DET, which must mean detect. And I'm thinking that now, if I do take it out, that maybe it would always just stay on radio rather than going over to tape. But I think it's worth the risk, because I've spent quite a lot of time on this, and I would just basically kind of just like to know what the problem is. So I'm just going to pop out this ribbon cable, get rid of that. And also, when I was doing all that testing, it still comes up faulty here. So there's obviously still an issue with the fact it can't read properly on there. Now I'm just going to take this board out. Looks like there's a couple of little connections there that should allow me to take it out. There we go. You can see the other side of it now clearly. So I'm going to get some hot air. I'm going to remove this ribbon cable here, because I've got a chance of I might end up melting it. I'm going to leave the motor connected there. I'm just going to work on it here, put a bit of flux on. I'm going to pop it off. Hopefully I won't knock everything else off. And then I'm going to take this one off. And well, what I might do is I might just swap them completely. Just swap them over, and then we'll see what happens. And if we have a problem with the radio and not a problem with the auto reverse, then 100% we've proved it onto that. If everything is still exactly the same, then we know it's not that. And then I think I'm going to be looking to you guys for help in thinking what it could be. So let's get the soldering iron, let's get the hot air and flux and stuff set up. Right, so I think we'll take the good one off first. I'm putting flux on both of them. Right, I'm going to set my temperature to 400, airflow at around 3 out of 8, and we'll see what happens with it. Just going to check the other side of the board, make sure there's nothing that's going to melt. No, I should be okay there. There we go, that came off very easy, didn't it? Well, let's take off the other one. I've got to be careful here because I've got the volume wheel, so I need to sort of angle the heat this way. I'm thinking these are so old, this is probably all leaded solder, that's probably why it's coming off so easy. Wow, so easy. Well, let's just swap those straight over. Yeah, it's gone straight into place, hasn't it? I think it has anyway. Right, let's move over to this one. God, it seems to be so much easier working with this leaded solder. Just going to get it in the rough position, and hopefully surface tension will bring it into the correct position. Oh, don't break it. 1 second, let me put the hot air down. find it so much easier working with my right hand. Okay, let's put the heat on that then. Hopefully it will go pretty quick. Now I haven't cleaned off the pads or anything like that. I've just put it straight on. There we go. I've seen that move, so there you go. Jumped into place there. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave that exactly as it is. Right, I'm going to get a little bit of IPA and just give that a quick clean, and then we can test it and see what's happening with it. Okay, happy with how that's come out. Let me zoom in to show you. Right, let's have a close look now. Right, so that looks like it's all gone on properly. And where's the other one gone? Here as well, yep. Well, I think that looks okay. So let's put this back together, put power into it. Let's see if it's exactly the same fault as before or not. Right, okay, let's see. What do you reckon? Yes or no? I don't know. I really don't know on this one. I'm not sure. A second now. Let's try and get it to play. No. Hasn't made any difference. Doesn't want to do the other side now, but it did do this before. I've probably got something misaligned as I was pushing it back in. There we go.
They look good.
No. That's a shame. Let's just see if it's still going when I short it. Yeah. Well, what can that be? Let's just see the radio. Let's go on to the radio. Yeah, radio's working okay. Obviously reception's bad. Well, to me that is a mystery and I don't know what else it could be. So I don't think it is the chip. Definitely don't think it's the chip, because when you short it to ground it's going there. Why is it not allowing the ground signal? Is it just a faulty capacitor, I wonder? It's a shame to have to do a revisit. I thought, do you know what, I did think it was going to be that, otherwise I wouldn't have done the video. See, some of you are going to know what it is. Well, I'm going to turn the camera off for a bit, have a think about it, but I think I'm probably going to need viewers' help on this one. Right, okay, what I've done is I've put flux on these three components here. So we swapped this one over and it didn't make a difference. But what happens if it was, for example, this little brown capacitor, that little fuse, and I don't know what this is it another capacitor or not? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap them. So I've definitely got the same fuse here, 103. And these brown ones, there's different brown colours on the board. So you can see this brown's a different colour to this one. But there is other brown ones elsewhere. For example, that one there. So, and there's more over here, that one there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap them over. And as well as that, this kind of, I'm going to call it a capacitor again, I don't know, or a resistor. I'm going to swap this one with this one here. Just to see what happens. I can always swap them back. I suppose really the sensible thing would be to look on the schematics to see if they're the same. The problem is I'm not 100% sure how to read it, so I am taking a bit of a risk here. But I'm going to try it just to see if it does make a difference or not, and then I can I can't see what else it can be, because basically you think it's going to be generated from this switch. You know, whatever this thing is, I'm sure is going to be generated from the switch. And these are the first components after the switch. And also on this side here, it doesn't seem to make a difference. So for example, I was just playing the tape now and I was going between this contact, I think it was this one here, and basically these ones, and it wasn't making any difference. It seems to be these contacts here that make the difference. So yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do. The worst thing is that I break it, but remember I only paid £5 something for these, so it's not really that big a deal. Thing is though, out of all of them, I think this is probably my favourite Walkman. So if possible, I would like to get this one working, but at the same time, I want to find out what the problem is more than having the product working not properly, which is what it is at the moment. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to lower the temperature down because it burnt really easy that time, or it flowed really easy. So I've got it to 350 now. And I'm going to lower down the air to 2 out of 8. And I'm just going to take them off one by one. And I'm going to get a bit more flux and put it on the other ones. I'm just going to grab a brown one from part of the board somewhere. Can't believe how easy it's all going on. Wow, that has to be the nicest thing ever to solder. It's just all went on really, really nice. Just tapping it with a bit of heat. Maybe it's because the board's so thin that it doesn't take a huge amount of heat to get in there. Right, okay, let's give them a quick clean up. We'll see what damage I've done. Right, let's pop it all back together. Okay, let's see what's happening now. See if it's going to work at all or whether it's going to blow up. Still backwards. Oops, my tape's mucking up. Hold on.
Oh, me, what is nice to have. Wish I had time to come reading more often.
No. Wow. I really thought that would have done it. So I'm obviously looking in the wrong place because all those components have been changed over now.
Perhaps have enjoyed the works of William and
No, let me just make sure it still shorts and works.
The troubadour great-great-grandfather of Richard the Lionheart. The Franks were in control of a rectangle of land bordered by the Mediterranean and to the Gulf of Aqaba. Northeast.
Yeah, it's still exactly the same as it was. So I'm glad I haven't broken anything. I'm just going to double check the radio again. Yeah, okay, well it's incredibly noisy, but I think that's just lack of reception. Right, and just to show you what I mean by the display here. So look, when we press play, it's like that. When we put it in the other way, it's still like that. Now, just to show, because a few people said to do this, now I can actually get other things to display. If I was to hold down number 6 and press play, it says play fast forward, but it's still going the wrong way. If I was to do that one, it still says fast forward, but now look, I think it's number 5. No, is it bands? There you go, well now it's going the other way. But look, if I was to hold down 1 and 5, there you go, now it says reverse, you see? Let go. And it goes to fast forward. So look, that way, still not working. Direction that way, working. Now let go of this one. So now it's just forward play, and it's wrong. So you can see that it doesn't make a difference what combination of buttons I press here. It still doesn't work. Yeah. Okay, so you can see that although it's reading incorrectly, it's still not having an impact on what is actually playing. So yeah, that is it. Unfortunately, I cannot fix this one. It's over to you guys. I'm pretty sure somebody out there is going to know what the problem is. And then what I'll do is I will do a revisit. So I will revisit my revisit. 2 videos on this now, 3rd time lucky. So I'm hoping now with all of your knowledge out there that we will be able to get auto reverse. I definitely think we're getting closer because we can get it to work by making that chip go to ground. But why is it that, unless I'm reading that schematics wrong and there's something way before this or something after the chip, after the chip it goes straight to the tape head, doesn't it? So it has to be something before the chip. But I think it's getting generated from that contact. And from that contact, it only has those 3 components and then that double transistor from what I can see, unless I've missed something, which is very, very possible. So if you know the answer to it, definitely put it down in the comments and I will revisit this one and I'll give you a big thanks. All right then. So apologies that I couldn't get to the revisit to work, but we definitely have more to go on now. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more trying to fix and revisit videos and plenty of failing videos. Take care. Bye now.